about 2 days before Sean Price passed away. He was at my crib and he was like, all that shit, you gotta cut it out now, man. Your father, he goes, you can't call your little girl from the jail cell. Because the night before she was born, I got in a crazy, crazy fight. Broke my hand. I literally held her with a broken thumb when she was born.
Statik Selektah.
What's up, man?
Welcome to Rap Dads, man.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited. Thank you, man. I'm excited. I'm a fan of the Good Dad Gang, obviously. And I feel like it's very important that all of us hip-hop dads are, pushing, the same agenda, man. So tell me about, your family.
Starting where?
You got only one daughter.
Yeah, I got one kid. A one and done, and that's my partner in crime. She's here right now.
Word.
She rolls around. She goes to concerts, clubs, all that.
Word.
Just turned 9 years old.
She just turned 9, and you can tell me, does she understand who she's meeting when she's hanging with? Sometimes she knows.
Yeah.
Word.
Other times sometimes she gets annoyed by other, because a lot of times people will know her before they meet her, just because social media and all that. But
yo, that's funny.
She knows she has a lot of famous uncles.
I love that, famous uncles, man. Yeah. So where were you in your life when you became a dad 9 years ago? You
33. I was in a really good place. I think I waited for the right time. It was actually perfect timing, I think, because I was, financially in a good place. I was mentally, it was just the right time.
Word. So was it a planned situation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very complicated. Her mother was in the hospital for 6 months of the 9 with hyperemesis gravidarum, but she had the worst version of it. She couldn't even drink water. It was bad. And, we got lucky. We got a healthy little girl.
Amen. No, that makes a lot more sense now. In my mind, I'm thinking of that photo you have on Instagram where you're leaning over your daughter that looks like she's hours old, wrapped up in a hospital blanket. Yeah. Now I can see the weight.
Yeah. Very stressful.
For fathers out there who may have or may be experiencing complications during pregnancy. Obviously, we aren't the ones bearing it. So how did you show up? How did you support? What did that look like?
It was super hard because I was on tour for most of the pregnancy. So when I'd get back in the city, her mom would be at her parents' house because she needed to be on IV the whole time. So it was strenuous because I'd be in Germany and Paris and all these places and on the phone waiting for the bad call. You know what I mean?
Man.
So it was a real relief when it finally, when I got to meet her.
Word.
But yeah, it's I still toured for a little while after she was born, but her second birthday, I remember I was with Joey Badass on tour, and I left the tour to go home for her birthday, and I remember me and him got in not an argument, but just a little back and forth on the phone. And he's like, "Why don't you just stay and Powers will fill in for you?" And that was the end of my touring. I toured for 15 years straight. I still go out on the weekends and do 3 city runs.
Word.
But all that being on tour for a month at a time, hell no.
Word.
I just want to be there with her. I bring her to school I'm up at 7 a.m. handling school stuff, doing homework, all that. I'm very, very, very involved. So Monday through Thursday, it's just me and her. Okay. Thursday through Monday, I'm working.
Word. Sheesh. And I feel like Joey now also has a daughter, so I'm sure he's
a wonderful dad. He went through a lot of the same stuff, relationship-wise, and just we're both single dads living the rap life and the dad life, and we couldn't ask for more.
This interview ain't over yet, but I wanted to let you know that this is just a piece of a longer conversation you can check out on the Rap Dad Show podcast on all platforms. So when it became time for you to navigate your fatherhood style, you know what I mean? DJs have many different styles. What would you say is your fatherhood style, and how did you find it? I'm
very pro creativity. I think, growing up, we all get our imaginations taken away, and someone tries to steal that joy.
Yes.
And with hip hop, it's such a blessing because I get to keep like anytime I make a beat or do a mix, it's like that's still creativity from being a kid and really loving this stuff. And I just really try to promote not taking that away. Like I let her create in any way possible.
I love that, man.
A lot of parents are like, hate the iPads because it does make them like zombies sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
But other times she's making music and editing videos and drawing, and I like it because plus the future's technology anyway. So the kids learning these devices at a young age is just going to make them more advanced.
I feel like when I was growing up, they called it the idiot box. Like you just sit in front of the TV and zone out. I feel like that's counterproductive. But if you are working on devices or you have these instruments for creativity, I feel like it only enhances, who you are.
It's a double-edged sword, but I want her to be creative. That's it. So, with school and everything, I was never a big school person. I'm surprised. I have a college degree too, which I can't believe.
Congrats, man.
Because that's not me at all. Like I had kids in my class interning for me. It was like, wild. Yeah, I've been running my own businesses since I was like 12 years old. So.
What were you doing at 12, entrepreneurial wise?
Man, I had really before that, like when I was like 8 or 9, I would, I lived on a golf course when my parents were still together. Like not on it, but the house was in the back. Like the golf course was near it.
Right.
So all the golf balls would land in my yard, and I'd go and sell them back to the golfers.
Hell yeah.
I'd sit there with like lemonade and golf balls and make $300-400 a day at 8 years old.
Sheesh. And
then after that, I started like kind of like a bootleg bike shop in my basement, and kids would come over and pay me to fix their bikes. After that, I started DJing at 13. I was doing parties by the time I was like 14, 15.
My goodness.
And then, the marketing companies, I did Street Team for G Unit and Def Jam, all kinds of, I did that for years, and that's all in Boston. And then when I moved to New York, launched Show Off Records, the rest is history. Yeah.
For sure. My goodness. So what do you see your daughter gravitate toward creatively, and how are you nurturing that?
Definitely music. She's been on. I actually sampled her heartbeat when she was in her mom's tummy before she was born. Then the next album I did after that, she was like 2, and she talked on that intro. The next album she sang on the album, and then this last album she sang on it as well. So the album I have coming out with 2 Chainz, she actually co-produced 2 songs on it.
Stop it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have footage of her. She was probably 4 years old at the time, and she's in my studio just like putting the needle on different records. And she found that sample that day, and she's on that song too. You hear her voice. And then recently, I made my first. Don't judge me. My fans are gonna get mad, but they haven't heard it yet. It's fire. I made my first drill beat, but it has boom bap elements in it, and she picked the sample on that too. It's actually a well-known sample, but it's fire. 2 Chainz went in on it. So like I'm not gonna be making drill music, but that's a one of one, and it came out crazy. She co-produced that too.
Wait a minute. A Statik Selektah drill beat with a sample.
And it got boom bap drums too, but the main part's a drill beat.
But Chainz is rapping.
Oh, it's crazy.
Oh, that sounds insane to me, bro.
It's crazy.
That sounds insane, bro. I can't wait to hear that.
Bun.
Uncle Bun? And who?
And Statik Selektah.
Let's go! 3rd time's the charm, baby.
I feel like for me, personally, I learned a lot more about myself failing at fatherhood. What would you say is, your biggest lesson or failure in fatherhood?
I think it has to do with my temper.
Okay.
Because, I grew up in a crazy place, between Lawrence, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Boston. All 3 of those places are just full of people who fight over nothing. And I moved to New York, and it's a lot different here. Obviously, people fight everywhere, but, with me, it's I come from a background where, it was on and popping off anything.
It's survival.
So, yeah, and about 2 days before Sean Price passed away,
Rest in peace.
he was at my crib, and he was like, all that shit, you got to cut it out now, man. You're a father. He's like, when I had my son, I was still fucking dudes up on the regular, blah, blah, blah. He's like, when I had the daughter, he's like, I cut it all out. He's like, you can't call your little girl from the jail cell. So it was like, man, I had to like really slow down because the night before she was born, I got in a crazy, crazy fight. Broke my hand. I literally held her with a broken thumb when she was born. So definitely with the temper, because you get mad at your kid too.
Oh yeah.
And then you start yelling at each other, and we deal with it. We sit down and calm down and deal with, it's testing. Because before that, no one ever could really calm me down.
Heck no.
But I now it's like you have to, and you got to realize the damage you do if you don't. So
Word. No,
definitely
man.
approaching issues and problem solving.
I heard it many times on this pod talking to fathers. Like, before that, there was no voice of reason, and now I have that voice. But also, I want to circle back because we have to acknowledge Sean P. as one of the greatest rap dads of all time, because the legendary moment where he had his baby shower at it was some club, but the only way you got in is if you bought him a gift for the baby shower, and he had a baby shower concert party.
Yeah,
it was bananas, and I'm like, that's iconic rap dad stuff.
SOBs or something?
It was somewhere like that. It was either SOBs or Santos Party House or something.
Oh yeah, I think it was Santos.
I think it was Santos. Bro.
Yeah, and I gotta acknowledge too, if we're talking about that, man, Prodigy, incredible rap dad.
Yes, man.
And towards the end, like, his final days, he was with his daughter every time they went out. His son would be with him too. And, because I think at the time she was like 20 years old. So she was just able to start going out with him. And he was in just such a positive place. Like, man, the last couple of weeks P was here, he was like the happiest I've ever seen him.
I love that, man, for sure. We got to acknowledge them two rap dads for real.
Listen. I'm really proud of him for his new book, The 10 Dad Commandments, Fatherhood Through the Lens of Hip Hop. Commandment number 1, know your role.
Know your role.
What is a father?
You cannot fulfill a role that hasn't been defined.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, you know what a moment was? About 2-3 weeks ago, I see her being sneaky, and I sneak in the room. I'm like, what are you listening to? She was listening to They're Not Like Us.
Wow.
And I was like, I thought it was hilarious. I'm like, Daddy knows him, like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, why don't you put on I was like, just listen to the clean version.
Right.
And she's like, okay. So then I come back in, and she goes, Dad, look what I did. I go, what? She took a song that she loved, but in the hook it said the F word just once in the song, like once every hook. She made her own clean version and uploaded it to YouTube for other kids. That, like, when they say DNA, the way it runs in the family. Because my whole life, like, when I was a kid, my mom wouldn't let me have parental advisory CDs. So I had to find, first of all, I started radio at 14 years old, so I had to get clean versions anyway.
Right.
But I had to make my own a lot of times that weren't available, and I used to have all kinds of tricks. I'd rip off the page on the CD that had the parental advisory. I just ripped it off and used another page as the cover.
Oh, okay.
I had all kinds of
That's
tricks.
Brilliant.
But that made me get creative and learn how to make radio edits and all that. I mean, now she can just make it on her iPad, but when I was growing up, you had to, I used to have to make pause tape, clean versions and all kinds of stuff.
Yo, how did she do that? Like, what software is on the iPad?
I think CapCut or one of those.
Wow.
The way she did it was flawless, though. It was perfect. She has a YouTube page with all kinds of clean versions, and
That's
it's bananas.
amazing.
Yeah. That was a moment where I was proud dad.
What are some of the ways that you bond with her?
Movies, especially movies that I grew up off. She loves all the classic Adam Sandler movies,
Yo,
Big
that's
Daddy,
funny.
and all the definitely movies. Back to the
What?
Future, Teen Wolf. We watch all that stuff.
I love that.
Music, movies, swimming. We're both fishes.
Word.
When I moved, I made sure I moved into a building with a pool, and she'll be in there for hours at a time.
All right, now it's time to have some fun. This game is called First and Last. You ready?
Yep.
First memory of fatherhood.
Just looking in those eyes, holding her right after I was the first person to hold her besides, the doctor passed her right off.
Nice.
Yeah, it's hard to put in words.
Last gift you gave your daughter.
Some Five Nights at Freddy's mask. Today they came.
Was there a first word or a memorable first experience that you remember?
wiping off like the blood and the you know, like when the baby comes out and it's all like nasty.
Yeah.
Just holding her like, oh, I got to get this off her, wiping her head. And just like you're holding it, it's like holding a vase. You don't want to, like,
Oh
it's
my
just,
God.
It's funny because when I talk to parents with more than one kid, they're like, oh, by the second time, you're like, oh, look, a baby. The first time, you're just like,
Bro.
and then by the, like, people that have like 3 or 4 kids, by the time the fourth, they're like,
They don't
oh,
care.
They're like, whatever, put it down.
I felt the same way. And it's funny that you mentioned, you know, by the third one. So by the third kid, my third son, my youngest son, we forgot, like we did potty time and all that shit. We forgot to teach him that once you like successfully go to the bathroom in the toilet, that you flush the toilet paper. My man was wiping his ass and putting it in the trash. And we were walking the bathroom like, yo, what is that smell? And it's like, oh, he's the third one. We completely just gave up on that kid, man. That was crazy. All right, so last time you had to apologize to your daughter and why?
Probably like a week ago. You know, it's frustrating when you go somewhere and you get there and they're closed. And like the kid's looking at you like it's your fault. Like, I didn't know they weren't open on Mondays. Like, something like that.
Word.
I think we went to like Toy Tokyo or something was closed.
Oh my God, yo. Your crib looks like Toy Tokyo, by the way.
I collect a lot.
Last meal you cooked for your daughter.
Oh, I cook all the time.
Word?
Yeah. We have a really, really nice outdoor area at the crib, and it's
Okay.
like we got a huge grill. Probably like some steak tips or
Oh, nice.
yeah, probably definitely steak or I'm trying to think. Oh, you know what we do together? We make crispy rice. We learned from a sushi chef how to. You compact the rice, then you freeze it, then you put cornstarch on it, and then you fry it in a pan, and then we put sushi on it, and that's her favorite thing in the world.
Word. That's
That's another thing too. Is like I didn't eat sushi till I was like
Talk about
30.
it, bro.
These kids are eating salmon raw at like 2 years old.
Come on, bro. I remember growing up, the fanciest meal I ever had was my high school graduation at the Chart House. And like my sons will go to the Chart House on like a Wednesday.
Oh,
And
growing
I'm
up,
like,
my dad would
yo.
like when my parents got divorced, I would get lobster on Thanksgiving, and that's it.
Right.
I eat lobster like 3 times a week.
Yo. Well, you're doing a great job, bro.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
You're an amazing dad, bro.
Thank you, man.
I can tell, like, just in this conversation, like, you know, how much fun you're having, how crazy scary it is, all in one breath. But, like, it's an amazing journey. I appreciate that you share your journey, too.
Thank you, man.
Word. On the next episode of the Rap Dads Show.
I was cracked out, sniffing dope, like I was at rock bottom. And one time these nurses came in to do a group, and it just so happened to be on babies being born with withdrawals. And they just showed the little twitches and everything, and it scared the shit out of me. I just didn't want that for him. August 11th, he was born completely healthy against all odds and didn't need any methadone, he didn't need medicine. And I felt like it was God saying to me, I did my part, now you do yours.
Wow.